Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive.
Merry Christmas!
Ho, 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 everybody! Welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons, by people who love The Simpsons, about how much we hate The Simpsons, and it is our Christmas episode today.
Merry Christmas, Dan.
Merry Christmas, Jack.
And Merry Christmas, listeners.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays,
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, we're doing a Christmas episode because it's coming out on Christmas Eve, and this episode deals with Christmas, but, you know, Kwanzaa.
A Jewish comedian.
So if this is your first episode, we're here trying to find the worst episode of The Simpsons, looking at all the post-90s episode, except for last week when we actually made an excuse to watch a 90s episode. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack.
And yeah, it's Christmas Eve, and we are going to be watching the 9th episode from Season 18. It is called Kill Gill, Volumes 1 and 2. It aired December 2006. Jack, have you seen this one?
Yes. I didn't see when it aired. I saw it a few years later, I think.
I also have seen this one. I saw it when it aired, so that's 8 years ago. I don't really remember it. I remember not loving it at the time.
I remember. I don't remember specifics. I remember a lot of the general episode.
Yeah, I also don't really remember why I was watching the show in 2006, because I had given it up at that point. So maybe it's just because it was a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't really remember anything about it. I'm pretty sure Gil comes to live with the Simpsons.
Yeah,
we'll find out in a moment.
I mean, we could have gone into this later, but real quick,
Yeah.
we want to do a Christmas episode, obviously, and
Yep.
we have our options at this point. But one of the reasons we picked this one is because it introduces a recurring character.
Yes.
That you found fascinating, and we'll get into it. But it's the Grumble.
Yes,
or
it's
the Grimble,
the Grumble,
yeah, whatever it
his
is,
name
the
is.
Grinch character. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into all that. We are going to take a break in a moment and watch the episode, and we'll come back with our thoughts on it. If you would like to do the same, you can watch it on SimpsonsWorld.com or possibly on FXX. I bet they're showing all those Simpsons episodes, the
probably.
Christmas ones. Let's take a break, and we'll be back with Kill Gill.
Mm-hmm. See you soon.
Let's do it.
We're not keeping that moocher in this house another minute.
He's still in need. We have to let him stay. It's what Dr. King would want us to do.
Oh, that's it. We're changing doctors.
Please, just a few more days.
Marge, admit it. You just can't say no to anyone. That's why you have 3 kids.
It's true. I do have trouble saying no. It all started when I was 7.
Marjorie, we need you to hide our cigarettes in your dollhouse.
No. And that's why I have trouble saying no to people. Even Gil.
Marge, I have no idea what you were just thinking about. Why would you think I did?
All right, tis the season to start talking about that episode.
Yeah, that was something.
Kill Gill Vol 1 and 2.
They could have left out Volume 2 in my book. Ew. So yeah, that was Kill Gill, Volumes 1 and 2. Let's just jump right in. If you didn't watch the episode, basically, Gil was working as a mall Santa. He does something nice for the Simpsons that ends up getting him fired. Marge feels bad, invites him to live with them. Or no, invites him to stay the night because they find out he has no home.
Right.
And so he stays for Christmas, but then he doesn't leave. And he stays there for 11 months, which they run through pretty quickly in the episode. And
the gist is Marge can't say no, and everybody wants him out, but she can't muster up the will to kick him out.
And for some reason, Marge has to be the one to do it, and she can't do it until he leaves on his own, and then they track him down, and he's a success.
He does leave on his own.
And Marge has to ruin his life.
Yeah,
for
Marge
some
has to
reason.
Marge finally builds up the nerve to say no, but now she has no one to say no to, so it's like eating her up inside, so she has to go and do it.
It's just some bullshit they made up.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Let's ruin each other's lives by talking about this episode. Actually, before we even get into the episode, I want to talk about the opening of this episode.
Yeah.
I think we both really liked it. If you didn't watch it, it was basically a Christmasized version of the opening theme, but the original opening theme. It wasn't this is pre-HD new theme.
Right, and it's funny because it felt like, to me, something that the HD era does now, where they really experiment and play around.
Yep.
So it had a very that new vibe, but it was the classic opening.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah,
I loved it too.
The snow. It was the clouds opening up, but it was snowing and with the
Right, and everyone's in their
jingle bells.
winter outfits. Bart was snowboarding instead of skateboarding.
Yeah, it was cute. I like, and then the couch gag was literally
very sweet.
Yeah, it pulls out, and the reflection of them on the couch is on the ornament, and it's just the dog and the cat curled up under the tree by the fire. And there was not a trace of cynicism or irony.
Yeah, it wasn't even a joke. It was just, hey, it's Christmas.
Yeah,
and this is
really,
like a nice thing.
I liked it.
Yeah, and I liked too. They obviously redid the opening titles for HD. And I didn't love that they changed it so much and crammed it with references, like we've talked about before, that the new episodes love to do that. This was just a straightforward, we're doing the opening titles, but just Christmasized. So, like, Jacques was still in it. And it was just
they
like,
kept it...
They kept it season 1
Right.
opening titles, just with like a layer
Jacques,
of paint over it.
because I was like, why bother redrawing him?
Yeah.
Because...
And then they just got
But
rid
they
of him with
did,
the new one. Yeah. But anyway, we liked that. So let's get into the things we didn't like. So the episode began.
The following 20 minutes after that.
Yeah, and we didn't like it. The end. Join us next week when our episode. All right. No, we can pad this a little more and talk about some things.
So, well, yeah. Do you want to start in order? Do you want to start? We can talk. We can either talk about Gil or we can talk about the opening scene that had nothing to do with Gil.
Yeah, let's talk about the opening scene that had nothing to do with anything.
All right. So it's Krusty. It's a Krusty on Ice thing that the family is.
Funny idea.
Yeah. So it's a Krusty on Ice. Show spectacular, and if to me this felt very classic Simpsons.
It did. It was a funny idea. It was like, we've never really seen like Ice Capades Krusty style before, so that was good. I liked it. I liked where it was going. But then the actual joke started.
Yeah,
it was like, what was it? It was like Rockette type dancers on skates, and they were like something about we got this job because we're busty.
Yeah, it's like this is the Krusty, but we got the job because we're busty. It felt very classic '90s as a setup and a scene.
Right, not in the execution.
There's been at least a few episodes that open up with a Krusty special like that.
Right.
And it felt like that, but yeah, the execution, it made it feel of its age.
Yeah, there was one thing I really liked, though. They did, they brought Krusty out in a nativity scene, and there were 3 people dressed as bales of hay.
Yeah.
And it just had, eye holes.
Yeah. No,
I thought that was really funny.
It had a lot of great jokes. It fell apart completely by the end, I think. But there was a lot of jokes. I was laughing the most, I would say, in that scene than I was in the rest of the episode.
Definitely.
The bales of hay is a great Simpsons joke.
That was a great visual. They didn't call attention to it. It was just there's just 3 guys dressed as hay.
And then the fact that Krusty comes out of the baby Christ's
that was
crib.
funny.
I
Very
liked,
keeping with Krusty.
You would think we wouldn't like it, but I liked Matrix Poochie.
I loved Matrix
the
Poochie.
visual of him doing the slow motion backwards bullet dodging, I guess.
So Krusty brings out it's your favorite B-list characters, and it's like the McRibbit, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was like a frog slathered in McRib sauce,
Yeah,
and I was like, that's
whatever.
not good. He's like Matrix Poochie, and it was Poochie dressed like Neo from the Matrix, and he does the bullet time kind of thing going back on his back. That was really funny.
That was funny, and then of course they introduced the Grumple.
Was it Grumple?
Oh no, Grumple came out later.
Grumple.
Grumple came out.
The
a little
Grumple
bit
did come
later.
out later. Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to talk to before we get there.
Yeah.
There was that. Do you remember the moment Krusty falls and he's like, "Oh, you're laughing at an old man," because people thought it was like a pratfall. That was funny, but then they just kept doing it.
Yeah. It was I think exactly what you just said. Yeah, it was funny, and then the kind of
they just did it again, and it was less funny.
Yeah,
and it was it's funny for a show that basically invented the very long gag with the Sideshow Bob rake thing of it's funny and then it's not funny and then it's really funny again. Yeah. They really lost the thread because they've done that a bunch of times now, and it's just never as good.
Him stepping on the rake is visually and orally funny.
Yeah, because you get Kelsey Grammer's.
Yeah, whereas the Krusty slipping in the ice, there wasn't really much to it. It was just like a wide shot of him just falling. There was nothing to it.
It's don't laugh at me. I'm an old man falling on ice, and it's that's funny. But then when they do it again, it's
but Krusty had some great lines, and I liked where him and Sideshow Mel, fresh from his father's funeral.
Yeah, that was dark and funny.
Dark, but it's Mel, and I like when they go behind the wall and then their stunt doubles come out and they're
that was very
gracefully
funny.
Skating. Although there was was that it? There was a really awkward homophobic line.
Well, that was
okay. So
Elvis Stoico, who I guess is an actual figure skater. I have no idea who he is.
Yeah.
But there was he was a special guest star, so he must be a real person.
He is. He's fairly famous.
That was really weird because it was just like, let's bring out our Elvis Stoico, and he's going to figure skate. And then it just cut to the crowd. It was Patty and Selma and Mo like talking, and they were like, "Oh, figure skaters are sexy" or something like that. Even though one of them is a lesbian, right?
Yeah, I don't think yet.
Yeah,
but whatever.
Well, anyway, and then it was just like this weird moment, like talking about figure skating, and then Elvis Stoico had some line that I don't even remember because it was not very memorable.
This was that time in the Simpsons history where they really were just parading out the guest stars.
Yeah,
for
it was
the sake
like,
of
we can get this guy. Let's just give him this brief 30-second scene.
It was completely pointless.
It was pointless. It wasn't funny. It was just.
But then Mo says something about how all figure skaters are gay, but he says it in a really condescending. It wasn't quite.
Oh, it was like they all got a little twinkle in their lutz.
Yeah, it wasn't super offensive, and it wasn't super hateful, but it was.
It was not the worst gay joke that we've watched.
Yeah, but it just seemed it was so unnecessary that it stood out.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah, no, it was really unnecessary, and also just the well of gay jokes with figure skating is just like, isn't that dry by now?
Right,
We could do better. It's The Simpsons. I don't know. But yeah, let's get to the Grumple. Let's talk about him for a bit. Let's talk about the whole Grumple thing, because the Grumple makes an appearance at the ice show and then recurs throughout the rest of the episode. Let's talk about the whole thing.
First of all, the Grumple is a spoof of the Grinch.
The Grinch, yeah.
But it turns out he's not a guy in a costume like everybody else. He's an actual species, like a monster.
I guess.
Because he bleeds green, and you never see him out of his costume. And he has a family, has a wife and kids who are the same
Grumples.
Grinch-type species, whatever that is.
Yeah. That's super weird.
That's weird, and he has... The reason we're making a big deal out of this is because we've seen he's recurred in a few episodes. They brought him back as kind of like a tertiary character. He was briefly in the Lady Gaga episode we covered 2 weeks ago.
He was, yeah.
Where he was a background. He was in a protest scene, and it just said, "Grumpily, grumpily goo, I have feelings too," or "I get sad too." And that's because he only talks in rhymes, and the first thing he always says is "grumpily, grumpily goo," and then he says something. And it's just a really weird, and it doesn't fit.
It's a very weird thing.
At all.
It's not like a Simpsons
Yeah, it's
thing.
not a Simpsons thing. I mean... Specifically, it's not a Simpsons thing in that it just doesn't fit at all. But his role in this episode is he has a fight with Homer because Homer was mad in the show he was stealing the kid's spirit or whatever.
Right, so Homer attacks him on the ice.
But then recurring throughout the episode, they keep breaking out into a fight. And I think you know where I'm going with this.
I think I do.
This is straight up the Family Guy
chicken thing.
Which was... What year is this? 2006?
This was 2006,
that was
years
6-7 years
happened.
after the chicken fight.
Right. But, I mean, it was just broken up over the episode. That was, like, the difference. But it's still the same thing of, like, he's fighting a costumed character, or maybe it's not a costumed character, which is, weird.
It's very close.
It's very, very close. I completely agree, and I didn't really love it when Family Guy did it.
I like it when Family Guy does it.
The first time it was fine, but then they, like, redid it a bunch of times.
They've done it a few times, yeah. So it's not original at this point. And it fits Family Guy where it doesn't fit The Simpsons.
Yeah, I mean, The Simpsons originally was like a down-to-earth kind of show, and then, sometimes Homer would fall off a cliff and not die, but it wasn't a place where monsters exist. Outside of Halloween episodes.
Yeah, no, it really sticks out. It's just an odd choice.
And it's an odd choice for a character to keep bringing back.
Yeah.
Like... I think it's fine if you want to have a Grumple for the ice skating thing and Homer attacks, and maybe it comes back later in the episode. That kind of is funny.
One more time.
But they did it a few times, and apparently it's an episode-spanning thing.
Yeah, and the episode ends with the Grinch Grumple family showing up and then
with the Simpsons Scottsdale, Arizona home.
Yeah, I guess we'll get to
there.
That. Yeah, I think that's about all we can say about the Grumple.
I'm grumpily down.
I mean, it stands out. It's definitely... That's why we're making such a big deal out of it. It definitely stood out, but there's not much depth to it. I won't psychoanalyze the Grumple.
No, there's no deep thematic things like last week with the Skinner one. So let's talk about the episode. Actually, let's go back to the one last thing about the Krusty on Ice kind of opening. First of all, it had nothing to do with anything because it didn't even flow to the next scene, because it ends up the Simpsons go to Costington's, and that's where they meet Gil, and that's where the episode really starts.
That's where it really gets going.
There was nothing that connected those two things other than they're both vaguely Christmas.
It was a Christmas little non sequitur vignette.
I feel like in a classic episode there would have been a scene of like the Simpsons in the car maybe, like going from the show,
Yeah.
going like, hey, let's stop at the store. They're like,
Yeah,
something's on sale,
something to
or-
lead him there.
Yeah, and then I feel like later era Simpsons, they just don't
Yeah.
care about that kind of thing anymore, which is fine, I guess. It's just just so many of these later episodes just open. It's just something at the beginning has nothing to do with where it ends up.
I think the only reason I'm a little bit more tolerant here is A, because it was funny.
Yeah.
And B, because it was Christmas. Might as well get
It's Christmas. We'll be nice today.
I want to see a Krusty Ice Spectacular. You can't make a whole episode out of it.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if we tied it a little bit better, but I don't know. I'm less hostile to this one than I am to even on this show. We've covered a few episodes.
Pennywise guys.
Yeah, had a completely non sequitur opening.
Yeah, but the last thing I want to say, did you think it ended really weirdly? Because there was a funny gag of, we got to get ready for a basketball game, and they were putting the basketball floor over the ice rink, because, a lot of ice rinks, like Madison Square Garden,
Right.
the Rangers and the Knicks, and they're like, we got a basketball game in an hour, and they end up getting into a fist fight, all the skaters
Utah Jazz.
with the Utah Jazz, and the guys like setting up the floor.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Did that work for you? I don't know. What do you think of that?
It's funny because, again, I loved how classic feeling the general scene was, but it definitely felt executed in a newer, crappier way. And that's a big example of it. And it worked for me sort of because
It worked for me sort of,
because
yeah.
The Simpsons can do chaotic mobs very well, and that's what
absolutely.
the fact that it just descended into a fist fight and chaos, that's classic Simpsons.
Yeah.
But
Here's what I think,
Yeah.
and it was a problem throughout this episode. Jokes went on too long. And
Yes.
that went on too long. It should have just been, we got to get ready for the basketball game, and you see them setting up the basketball game, and maybe something happens, and then end. Cut to the next thing.
And the fight should have been angry Springfielders. Like, it should have been like Mo going, hey, get the Utah Jazz. The fact that it was the snowman was keeping his snowman voice.
Right, it was like they were all still in character. It's like, let's go get him.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Candy Cane and whatever.
And it just wasn't that funny. And
no, it just wasn't.
And why? I mean, this is all happening during the ice show.
Yeah, it was all just very strange, and it was not great, but it led us into the episode proper, which I guess we'll get to right now.
Yeah.
So, as we said before, the family winds up at Costington's, where Gil is Santa.
Right.
And actually, before that, there was that scene with Mr. Burns. You remember that?
Yeah, Mr. Burns has a man crush on another Smithers type guy, and Smithers is jealous.
That was also weird.
It was.
Did you like that? I don't know. I don't know how I felt about that.
I didn't like.
Let's just recap it in case people didn't watch it. So Smithers and Mr. Burns are at Costington's, the department store, and Mr. Burns is like, I need to get something for a very quiet man who I know, a Christmas gift. And Smithers obviously thinks he's talking about him, and it turns out he's talking about this guy, Philip, who we've never seen, and maybe he's like a new character who I don't know about.
I don't think so,
but he's basically Smithers.
Yeah. I don't mind the joke of Mr. Burns having a man crush. I don't think that's in the same homophobic, anti-gay thread that we've discussed before.
Yeah, I thought it was fine on that front.
There's nothing wrong with the man crush joke. It just had nothing to do with anything, and it wasn't particularly funny.
It was an interesting idea, have Mr. Burns have this weird affection for another guy who's not Smithers.
It's exactly what Smithers wants.
Exactly,
out of Mr. Burns.
but I feel like they didn't do enough with it. It was just Smithers. Eventually, Mr. Burns is just like, "Oh, go over there."
Yeah, it just seemed completely.
It just ended.
Yeah, it was completely pointless.
Yeah,
and it didn't even have to be in this Christmas episode. It almost could have been anywhere.
Yeah, it was. It felt a little shoehorned in.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from.
Now, Smithers, I need your advice. Picking out a gift for a very dear friend of mine, a single fellow, a bit quiet, but one with a warm, loyal heart.
Well, sir, a fellow like that might have had his eye on this silver frame. It would go great with his collection of Art Deco.
Shut up. There he is. Hello, Philip. What are you doing here?
Oh, never you mind, Mr. Nosy.
Are you going to that string quartet thing? 'Cause I'm not. Are you still here? Go pay for that.
Before we get into the story proper, let's talk a little bit about Gil.
Let's talk about Gil.
Gil's been around for a while.
Yep.
So it's the way we're talking about him is as if he's just another Simpsons character, which he is.
He is.
But to me, I've always considered him because he debuts in season 9.
Season 9, yeah. We'll see bites.
And I've already said numerous times that I consider season 8 like the real canon, and then everything after I kind of take with a grain of salt. So to me, Gil's always been a character from the newer episodes. I never really considered him a traditional Simpsons character, even though he's, season 9. You could call him that, and he's in plenty of episodes where you could do it. To me, he's one of the first recurring characters that I know that didn't come from the early Simpsons. Like Disco Stew came in season 7.
Disco Stew was similar.
And Duffman
Cletus maybe season 6, I think.
Yeah, and like Duffman season 9. So there are a crop of them. And Gil stands out a little bit in that he's, a parody of Jack Lemmon, which I don't know if I understood that when I was 13. But
I hadn't seen Glengarry Glen Ross when Realty Brights aired.
But at some point, I've known it for a while, and that doesn't bother me because there are a lot of characters. Wiggum is Edward G. Robinson, so that doesn't bother me, and it does fit. And we'll get into this when we talk about the episode. I realize, though, I like Gil better in small doses. The Jack Lemmon thing kind of wears a little thin.
Yeah, he's... The whole joke with Gil is like, everything sucks, I'm Gil. He can't get a break.
Right.
You can't really build an episode around that.
They tried.
They tried. They tried to build an episode where Bart gets a teacher pregnant with voodoo, too. That one didn't work out so well.
But, yeah, so I just wanted to point that out, that I kind of have a little bit of a distance with Gil. I don't really...
He's not my favorite character, certainly.
So
he's got his moments, but...
Right. So as we talk about him, I thought I should say that I don't consider him in the same league as Skinner or
You mean Armin Tamzarian?
We're
back in the Skinner labyrinth!
How'd that happen? No. So I just wanted to point that out.
I hear you.
Just as I don't consider the Grumple in the same as the Capital City goofball.
Yeah, right, exactly. Kind of related to this as far as like weirder tertiary characters. How do you feel about Kearney's son? Because he also makes an appearance. There's a scene where Gil is Santa and Kearney is on his lap, and so is Kearney's son. Because Kearney's obviously a lot older than he seems. That's been a running joke for a while.
Now, this is season 18. I don't know if he's been in anything else since that one scene where it's like, I sleep in a drawer. And then there's been a couple of references where Kearney, I think, might have mentioned he has a son and they don't show him.
Right.
I didn't like it. I thought it felt forced. I don't think it's because it's Kearney's son or because they're bringing back a character. I think it was just because Kearney's son was like really smart and precocious, and he was the one telling his dad that it wasn't the real Santa.
Yeah.
And it I don't know, it kind of rang a little false to me. I didn't like it.
I agree. It was just like, that's a thing that they did.
It did
nothing for me. It was not particularly funny.
Maybe it's the disconnect because the last time the only scene I know Kearney Son from is I sleep in a drawer. Yeah. And it's Ralph Wiggum's voice to a T.
Right.
And I don't know, just the disconnect between the two Kearney Sons.
Yeah, that's all we have to say about that.
The disconnect between that and the disconnect between Kearney didn't seem like Kearney. So
yeah, it's a funny idea to have like, this bully at school is actually like a 30-year-old man with a small child. But
I feel like it almost would have been funnier if it was Nelson on Santa's lap and like Milhouse or Martin says it from the aside, where it's like, that's not the real Santa, and Nelson gets upset. I feel like that would have been true.
Okay, that would have worked a lot better. Hey,
I got my moments.
It's pretty good. It's no Bart at the science fair is deaf, but whatever. What a terribly constructed sentence that was. Bart at the science fair is deaf. Anyway, I'm a semi-professional podcaster now.
You will construct sentences anyway, you damn well please.
There was a thing I think we can both agree was great, though. Gil, so Lisa sits on Gil's lap as Santa and asks for this Malibu Stacy thing, which I love, Lisa as a little girl again. I love when they do that kind of thing. And Gil is like, I saw one in the back. Maybe I can go get it for you. And he puts out a sign. It's
Santa's making...
Be right back. Santa's making presents and it's Santa on the toilet.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost too...
it's a little like blue, I guess.
Yeah, it feels almost too blue for a classic Simpsons sign gag, but it worked. It was funny.
It's just a funny visual. It's
Santa's making presents.
Yeah.
I like that, and that was that got me on board in the story really quick. That it was a really sweet gesture of Gil.
Yes.
Between that and the couch gag, where it was very heartwarming at first.
Well, I think in their Christmas episodes they usually go a little sweeter, like Marge
one of
my
all-time favorite episodes is Marge Be Not Proud.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the best Christmas episode. We should have just watched that and just been like, we're taking a week off. Watch a good episode.
We just want something nice for once. this episode had some really heartwarming moments, but I feel like they were top heavy, and that's why, and we'll
right,
get into
yeah.
why the episode spiraled. But
Yeah, but at least it was an attempt to set up the story.
Yeah.
So that's a reason for The Simpsons to bring in Gil, because he did something nice for them, they want to do something nice for him,
Right,
and then the niceness backfires on Marge.
yeah, it's a really strong inciting incident, which newer Simpsons don't have. Like, Gil doing something nice for Lisa gets him fired, and that's why it's not just like, hey, let's just shoehorn ourselves into this person, shoehorn ourselves into the person's life. It was definitely cause and effect. And
I feel like
season
now,
18, that's very welcoming.
In like a season 25 episode, it might just be like the Simpsons happen to be walking by as Gil gets fired, and they're like, "You can live with us."
Yeah, no,
half the town has already.
That would have been like season 20. Season 25 would be they don't come home, and Gil would just already be there, and they don't say anything why.
It's like, oh, hey, Gil, I'm so happy you moved in last month.
It would be Gil, the Grumple, and that little leprechaun that's an actual leprechaun.
That's another... Well, we can bring that up when we get there. There is a leprechaun in this episode, and questionable.
That's about it.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. I guess that's it.
That leprechaun is a recurring character, by the way.
All right, let's talk about the leprechaun. So the leprechaun is in this episode. It dances on Santa's little helper's head for like 30 seconds, which is far too long for that to happen.
That was terrible.
But I know the leprechaun from, I think it's This Little Wiggy, season 9, I want to say, maybe season 8. The one where Ralph and Bart are friends. Yeah. And the leprechaun, Ralph Wiggum sees it and tells him to burn the house down.
Is that the same leprechaun? I guess.
I think so, yeah. But it worked there because Ralph Wiggum is in his imagination. It's in his imagination.
Yeah, no, the leprechaun's been in a few episodes, and besides that one, I don't think he actually talks. He usually just makes these like little Irish sounds, like "Hey, yeah." I remember there's an episode, I think it was with Alec Baldwin, where there's an Irish St. Patrick's Day parade, and he gets into a fight with the Northern Irish orange leprechaun, and it's just, but yeah, it's kind of like the Grumple, where it's not quite a human; it is a leprechaun.
Right. Wait, Alec Baldwin was in that episode? Wasn't he? He was in the. I think he played himself.
Yeah, this was another one where
another season 9 episode,
Bonfire of the Manatees, where Marge becomes a manatee.
Wait,
something.
She becomes a manatee?
No, she doesn't become a manatee.
That episode's been suggested a number of times.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, so we're gonna watch that one.
It's a season.
Soon.
It's a season premiere. I just remember watching it.
Yeah,
But I really like the St. Patrick's Day.
That's
scene,
on our list for sure.
Off topic.
Yeah, off topic. The leprechaun's stupid. It's dumb. We didn't like it, and I don't think that's a surprise.
Needed to be said.
So yeah, Gil gets fired because the thing he gives to Lisa was originally for Mr. Costington's daughter. And he comes out and he fires Gil. And
I don't like Mr. Costington.
I don't like Mr. Costington.
He's a recurring character too, a newer one.
Yeah, I know.
His only thing is that he has
He's
blood.
got jowls like this.
Yeah, you're fired.
That's stupid. That's dumb.
I don't like. I don't like him nearly as much as I like the other guy that's always at Costington's. Like,
yes. Yes. And that guy is apparently also based off of like an old film actor. I can't remember the name.
It's not Vincent Price, is it?
No, it's not Vincent Price. It's like a very specific guy who also used to go, yes.
Yeah. And like that, I like that. The Costington's guy is a reference, if not to a specific person, it's that blubbery jolly. You're
like,
fired.
Like the villain of an old, like Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, or it's almost like a Spacely from Jetsons. Didn't he always say you're fired or something? I don't know. But
I think you're thinking of Donald Trump. You're fired.
That's not bad. So don't like the costume.
No, not at all. I didn't like him either. I mean, just one note. It was just like...
Yeah. And they bring him back in the end of the episode where there's a Scottsdale, Arizona version of him. Whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, they take Gil in. I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about the Costington's part?
No.
I don't really.
I didn't like it.
They take Gil home. It's Christmas Eve, and you know where I'm going with this. There was like a really mean-spirited gag, I thought, with Grandpa.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So they invite Gil to stay, and Grandpa's like, oh, maybe I should stay too. And Homer's like, no, we got you a cab. And Homer like pushes Grandpa out into the cold, and Grandpa's like, there's no cab out here. And he just like slams the door.
Yeah, I didn't like it. It sounded mean. I don't know why I don't like it, because they've been doing mean Grandpa jokes like that since the very beginning.
They weren't like that. It was more like, we don't want to go see Grandpa, but you do it out of this like family kind of loyalty, I guess.
I mean,
whereas this is just like, no, get out of here, old man.
There's like we
don't care if you die.
There's like there's wolves after me. Oh. you?
Yeah, well, that's just ridiculous. So it's funny because
I guess that's it. It's not.
This is just like the entire joke of this is Homer is a terrible son and a bad person.
Right. I want to jump a little ahead, real quick, just to also mention in Scottsdale, Homer locks the dog in the car with the windows up.
Yeah, that was also horrible.
And that's just like animal cruelty. It's very hard to make that funny. Yeah. And
just to kind of explain the joke, I guess, Homer says, "Oh, it's 117 degrees out. Oh, that reminds me of something." And he runs back to the car where Santa's little helper is basically dying because he's in the car and the windows are up, and Homer just goes, "There's water under the seat for you." And it's just like, well, the dog is dead.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, kids.
Yeah, Santa's little helper, no less.
That might be the episode title. The dog is dead. Merry Christmas. We'll see.
Yeah, so we've said it before. The mean Homer is not fun.
Yeah, I mean we're kind of jumping all over the place, but there's more I want to say about that. Yeah. Homer, one of my least favorite Homer things happened so many times in this episode, where he would do the like over-explaining angry whisper.
Which he does even with the dog thing.
He did it with the dog thing. Yeah. He did it with Marge, like, have you lowered the boom yet? When she was, like, pushing Gil out of the house. And he just kept doing it.
I'm sure there's a few instances where he's whispered things, A, in the classic episodes, B, when it's been funny.
Yeah.
But I can't think of any off the top of my head. But in general, I don't know why.
It was just like, repeating the jokes
It's just
over and
always,
over.
Like, unattractive, like unappealing. It's like repulsive. It's just like, I don't like this.
No, it's just just offends me on a personal level.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah. It's just I don't know why. I hate when they do it.
Yeah, I didn't love it. He actually did it again when the Grumple reappeared. Do you remember this? I think it was the act break for the first act.
Yeah.
The Grumple like appears outside the window and he's like, "Grumpity grumpity groo, I'm gonna kill you," and he has a knife, which is terrifying. And then Homer's just like to Marge, "Do you think it's the same guy from the show?"
Yeah.
"Because I do." And it's just like that's not funny at all.
Yeah, and even
it took too far.
And even when he said, "Do you think it's the same Grumple?" At first,
that could have been okay.
That was okay.
And cut there.
But because I do.
Yeah.
On that scene too, what I noticed the first two times we see the Grumple, the first time where Homer's literally trying to slit his throat with the ice skate.
Yeah.
And then in that scene where he's outside the window with a knife, they end the scene on like on a sound effect that the Grumple makes, which is weird because the Grumple doesn't move his mouth because it's a mascot.
Right. Is it?
Well, yeah. But so the sound is always a little jarring because it's not in sync. Mm-hmm. But they always end it like it's like on the very tail end of the beat, and then it just cuts, and it's really weird. So like he says, "Because I do," and then you just hear in the background the Grumple go "Rrr, rrr," with the knife, like just like a little groan.
Yeah.
And then like it cuts right on that groan, so it's very jarring. It's hard to put into words.
Yeah.
It's jarring.
It's not the best.
And they did it in the first scene too, where he just like he goes help me or something like that. It was just, but the way they cut it was really just weird.
Yeah, I agree with you. It was just I don't really care for this Grumple. I gotta tell you. So then Gil ends up staying with the family for a long period of time, and like the calendar starts to roll. But before we get to that, this was just another weird joke that I'm curious to see if it worked for you. I don't know if you remember this. Mm-hmm. Marge invites Gil into the house, and Homer says, "Why are you doing that?" And she says, "It's because of Christian charity." And Homer says, "What does a porn star have to do with this?" What did you think of that?
I didn't like it. Why do I keep saying A and B? I don't know why that's my thing today.
Just go 1 and 2 instead. Mix it up.
Lowercase Roman numeral I. Is that a real porn star? Am I supposed to know who that is?
I don't think so. I mean, it sounds like a porn star name.
But
like
it just seemed like
Christian charity.
It's not the worst joke. It just didn't seem.
It's not the worst joke. It's not a Homer joke, though. I think that's what bothered me.
And it didn't seem in place at all.
I wrote down, it sounds like an Al Bundy joke. Like, that's something Al Bundy might say. Because Homer's whole thing is not that he's, like, crass or he's just an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, that seemed too, like, sleazy for Homer. I don't know.
I almost saw it in a different way. I saw it as, like, a wordplay joke than a sleazy. And again, even that doesn't fit Homer. That's almost more like the Joe Mantegna joke. It's like, can I have a word? Meringue. It's just like, I don't know. It's like, you can make that joke. Christian charity sounds like a porn name.
Yeah, you can make that joke. Is this the right place to make that joke?
And it is not.
No, it's not. All right. So anyway.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I mean, it's just stuck out to me in this episode. This is terrible. Cut this. Cut this rambling, incoherent nonsense.
Marge, we have a problem here.
You have a bigger problem out there.
Grumpily, grumpily, groo. Your blood will make my stew.
Do you think that's the same Grumple from the ice show? Because I do.
Okay, so then Gil is staying with them, and we start doing this running gag where the calendar pages run, and it stops on all these weird holidays.
It was very inconsistent. Sometimes it was real jokes, like real holidays like Arbor Day or Columbus Day. And sometimes they were like completely, obscure. I don't know if they're all real or if they were made up.
I'm sure most of them were made up. One was like Jerry Van Dyke's holiday, or Jerry Van Dyke's birthday observed Australia.
Yeah, I want to mention, I specifically noted that joke because that is, I've been saying how there's a very specific tone to the newer Simpsons jokes. Mm-hmm. That, I feel like, is one of those. It's super specific.
It's almost too specific.
Nobody knows who Jerry Van Dyke is. I do because I'm a big Coach fan, as you know from our Coach podcast.
Hitting the goalposts with the Coach. I was going to say, I remember him. This is a tangent, but I'm going to make it anyway.
Are you going to talk about the TGIF?
I am going to talk about the TGIF lineup. Do you remember this? He was on, I think it was the show You Wish, or maybe I'm have it backwards.
There was the genie one and the angel one.
There was a genie one and an angel one after Sabrina the Teenage Witch came on, and we are big Sabrina the Teenage Witch fans. Yeah. Melissa Joan Hart.
Just saying.
Just throwing that out there. Watch her movie, The Santa Con. She's been twittering about it. This is really inside now. Anyway,
get back to the broader Jerry Van Dyke topic, please.
It should all be cut. But my point was, Sabrina the Teenage Witch was a big hit, so they introduced all these other fantastical creature shows. One was with a genie and one was with an angel. Yeah. And Jerry Van Dyke was on one of them. I don't remember.
I think it was the angel. Well, I don't know.
Maybe he was on the angel one, and he played an elderly angel, and then that show got canceled, and they just brought him over to the other show where he just played the same character, but now he was a genie.
I don't remember that at all. That's amazing. It's like, hey, terrible. We got Jerry Van Dyke. Yeah. Everybody knows his face.
Everyone loves him from Coach.
Yeah, so that's a very specific joke, and it's funny because the joke is that it's so specific. It's why, but
it was too many degrees specific. Yeah, if it was just Jerry Van Dyke's birthday, that probably would have been.
It's not somewhat funny. It's like the specificity. How do I say that? Specificity.
Yeah,
is the only that's the joke, and I don't know, for some reason I like weird non sequitur type jokes.
Right.
That one didn't work for me.
Did any of them work for you? Because I didn't really like any of them.
Oh no, none of the holidays were funny.
I just felt like
none of them.
We brought this up, I want to say it was in that 90s show, where it just felt like they didn't spend a lot of time on the holidays. It was just we'll just put in, Literacy Day or something.
I think it's the inconsistency that they did it, because they had Susan B. Anthony Day, and I was like, what's the joke here? Is the joke that Susan B. Anthony has her own day? Because she's a pretty remarkable historical figure.
Was that after Valentine's Day? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
There?
But are you saying that is the joke that, oh my God, there's a Susan B. Anthony Day? But then you have a Columbus Day, so it's like, oh, maybe no, they're just admitting it's an actual B holiday.
Yeah, I thought it was just they were going to focus on obscure holidays first.
Yeah,
but then it was just, clearly made up
stuff.
Yeah,
it was really all over. They really should have worked on that, because it was a framework that they cut to repeatedly, so put a little effort into it, guys,
Yeah, and did they really need to... this episode jumps forward 11 months.
It helped with the... they could have gotten away with just cutting to a new scene and it's saying with the words over the screen, Thanksgiving or whatever.
Later. Oh, yeah.
Going by the holidays.
Well, I'm saying, do they even need to keep making those jumps in time? Just have Gil stay
I like
through
that.
January, maybe.
No, I like that. That's one of the things I like. I like that he spent the whole year there and then it comes full circle.
All right, I didn't dislike it. I'm just trying to make conversation, Jack.
You jerk.
God, Merry Christmas, asshole.
You're wrong. All your opinions are wrong.
You suck. Your podcast sucks. Grumpily goo.
So while we're on top, talking about the holidays, a couple of weird Martin Luther King Jr. jokes.
Yeah, there were a couple of weird MLK jokes.
I can't remember them now.
It was no, I remember them. It was Gil was reading a newspaper, and on the screen it was it's Martin Luther King Day. And the newspaper was Martin Luther King Day. Today we remember, tomorrow we don't.
Yeah, and
that's pretty.
And it's sharp, and the satire sharp in that. Yes, we kind of We kind of don't give the guy as many props as we should.
Right.
But it's also, I don't know, it seemed mean.
It did, yeah.
I think it was the context around it. It just wasn't the right place to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird.
And then Marge was like, what would Dr. King say if we threw Gil out? And Homer's like, we got to get a new doctor.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That's weird, too.
I'm sure the joke is just Homer doesn't know who Martin Luther King is.
Which,
but it
to
comes
me,
off,
again, is like condescending. It's like, I don't know.
It didn't sound right. It didn't land right with me.
I mean, maybe it's because we're white and we're just afraid of any racial jokes.
That could be it.
But no, I think we are right about that. I think we're beacons of social justice.
I've always said that about us. Ever since we were young, I said.
We're hoping this podcast becomes so popular that we become civil rights leaders.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we have been going with this from the beginning.
If you couldn't tell, guys.
Yeah, I mean, we're crusaders.
That make Jerry Van Dyke references.
Yeah. No, it was weird because it was the Genie show and the Angel show. Also, I forget what show it was. I think it was Boy Meets World was still on, so it was these 3 weird magic shows in Boy Meets World.
I remember the mom on, I think, the Angel show, which is a dark premise. It's about a teenager who dies and comes back as an angel.
About that.
And so to have like silly 3-camera jokes of when the kid's dead.
Sitcom, like, my kid's dead.
But the mom was played by Maureen McCormick, who was Marsha Brady in the original Brady Bunch. Oh. And I guess this show was so old that she was still like pretty young and she was pretty. Looking good. But they actually had a scene where she gets hit with a football. Ow, my nose. And I remember that. I don't remember Jerry Van Dyke switching series. Maybe I didn't notice. Maybe it was just like
make that up. We'll have to cut all that if I did. I'll look after.
I wouldn't be surprised if I was one of the suckers, just like, this is Jerry Van Dyke, just like he was on last week. Same show.
Yeah, right. Just like, surely if I watched it last week, it must be good this week.
I like that one of them got canceled, and the other didn't. It's just like I can't see like.
I actually think the Genie show lasted like 2 seasons.
I can't watch. So audiences were like on Friday night, like 12-year-old audiences were like, "Man, this Genie show's great. Oh, this Angel show
is terrible." This is garbage.
Again, it does feature a dead teenager. So
I mean, that could be it.
The Genie, nobody has to die.
The Genie was just this douchebag in like parachute pants.
I remember. Anyway, what show are we talking about?
I have no idea.
Is this the Quantum Leap podcast?
Yeah, this is our TGIF cast. We're going all the way back to '87 to talk about Mr. Belvedere.
I feel like one day I'm just gonna do some hallucinogenic drugs, and all the podcasts are just gonna merge in my head. I'm gonna just lose my sanity.
Yeah, we'll be talking about Alf. We'll be talking about
smash together in like some Don Hertzfeld.
Wait, I'm gonna keep it on this thread just for one moment. The Genie show was definitely called You Wish. I don't remember what the Angel show was. Do you remember?
Dead. I believe it was
Merry Christmas.
I think it was dead. Teen Angel. I think it might have been.
I really want to look it up right now and just double check I'll wait until afterwards.
I think it was Teen Angel, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Anyway, what are we talking about? The Simpsons.
So he's living there. The first thing I think is New Year's Day is the first holiday to cut to. There's a joke I liked where the marching band and they're doing the classic boring parade sportscasting.
Yeah.
And that was the high school marching band playing Rachel's theme from Batman Begins.
Yeah.
And that's the same as the
funny.
Jerry Van Dyke joke. It's this very specific joke, but for whatever reason, I guess because it's saying something culturally in that marching bands might pick or like
that's try and be hip with more modern
either that
music.
Or maybe American audiences won't listen to classical music unless it's like a Hans Zimmer score.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason that hyper specific weird joke works better than the Jerry Van Dyke joke.
I agree. I guess just because Jerry Van Dyke has no cultural relevancy when this episode was on.
I mean our ears perk at any Batman reference. Whereas
I thought you were going to say they perk at Jerry Van Dyke references.
Well, they do for us. They do, but I think we're like the only 2 people in the world.
I mean.
Right now, like the guy who created You Wish right now is just like, I can die now and become an angel. See how I tied it all in? Now people will be like, oh, I thought they were wasting our time talking about TGIF.
It was worth
45 minutes.
It was worth it for that joke.
It came full
for that callback.
So yeah, he stays for a while. Anything? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. He just stays. He overstays his welcome.
He just stays there.
Actually, you know what? This episode was not executed well, but it actually is one of the stronger stories I think that we've come across so far in this podcast. Because
one of the stronger stories, not episodes. Though,
right, stories, not episode.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't executed well. But
it's a good idea.
We talk about how they bring these characters in. and it's not a Simpsons thing. This is very much a Simpsons story because
Right.
the story boils down to Marge can't say no. That's the backbone. Marge can't kick her out. Unfortunately, they don't do much with it.
They don't. Yeah, I feel like they lose that a little
First
bit.
of all,
That's what they want it to be.
They don't just lose it. They don't even start it off on the right foot because the
No.
reason she can't say no is because she said no once to her older sisters when she was a kid.
Can we talk about that
they
flashback?
Beat her up. Yeah, talk about it.
That was worthless. It was like. The Simpsons used to do some really great flashbacks, especially with Marge.
Especially
like,
baby Marge.
This is
Baby
what a
Marge
cornfield is, Margie.
Don't look at me.
Yeah. But this one, it was just like Patty and Selma wanted to hide their cigarettes in Marge's dollhouse, and she says no, and then it just like cuts to a few moments later where they had shoved Marge into the dollhouse, and Marge tries to get out, and that was it. That's the joke. It's not a very good joke.
Yeah, that's the joke. It wasn't funny, and that's not really a strong enough reason for her to like. You really need her. I want a good reason why she can't kick Gil out of the house. And they could have been like 3 of those, like exact same as the why she's afraid of the plane.
Yep.
There's more things coming right now.
Yeah, right.
So it could have been something like that, or could have been a more monumental why you can't
Something
say
bigger.
no. Something that affected her life, like he got somebody killed or kicked out of the house.
Yeah, even something more in the present, like in the beginning of the episode, maybe when they're at the ice skating show, like someone asks Marge to do something stupid, and Marge can't say no to him, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, she says no, and that starts the whole Utah Jazz fight. Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, if that's what the backbone of the episode is going to be, why are we only getting to it now in a shitty flashback?
Right off the bat, it doesn't really like why can't she kick just like Gil is obviously such a horrible presence in the house.
Yeah,
she can't get him out. Well, also, why can't Homer do it?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there was like a lip service was paid that where Homer's like, oh, if I do it, like Marge won't learn to say to say no.
Nobody can see it, but I'm making the jerking off motion right now with my hand.
Living in your house for 11 months, just fucking kick him out.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
So again, it was a really great idea for a story, and I love that they actually gave it was a Marge story with Gil in it.
We are always talking about Marge, like every episode. And there was some sexualization, which we'll get to in a moment.
We will. But just wrap up. It was a Marge story, but it just was executed so poorly, and it's just a bummer.
Yeah, I agree. And on the flashback thing, do you remember the joke after the flashback where Marge is like, and ever since then I can't say no, and Homer goes, I have no idea what you're thinking.
Why would you think I would?
Why would you think I would?
I liked that joke, even though it was breaking the fourth wall.
It was funny, but I don't know if it was Simpsons funny. I don't know. I guess they play with the fourth wall, especially at this point.
I can't tell you why. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a matter of taste.
Why don't we talk about the
sexy thing?
Yeah. So later on, they're having because it's Valentine's Day. They're having sex, and Gil bursts in and ruins it, and that's why.
Well, Marge is in this like sexy negligee, and she says she rented it, which I thought was really funny.
That's what I'm gonna say. This scene didn't bother me at all.
Didn't bother me at all.
She was a little sexier than usual. Like it was pretty like sexy lingerie.
She was drawn pretty curvy.
Yeah,
I thought.
she was drawn curvier than we usually see her. But the fact that she rented it—that's a very Simpsons joke.
Yeah, definitely.
And it wasn't gratuitous. Like
no,
it was again, it was a married couple.
That's what a married couple would do on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it wasn't like. Yeah, it wasn't her with her dress down with a tattoo on her ass, and
or in Playboy magazine in real life. Barf. Yeah, so that was actually pretty good. Then they went to St. Patrick's Day, but we already talked about that. That's when the Leprechaun came in, and it was just a barf, barf, barf. Yeah. I just did not like it. And then,
so finally Marge works up that's the other thing. So it starts off bad, the storyline. It doesn't start off strong enough. And then, again, like the Lady Gaga and like a lot of the episodes, they don't really wrap it up well. The resolution doesn't come naturally, where basically she's talking to herself, and she kind of just finally wills herself. She cracks, and she's like, now I can say no. And she has like a conversation with Flanders.
Yeah, it was this Christmas card thing that was the thing that put her over the edge. That didn't seem like a strong enough thing to be like, now I'm ready.
Yeah, especially because it's not that she just says she can say no. Now she has to say no.
Right, because like, how dare he send out Christmas cards with his face instead of ours.
Yeah, because now Gil's gone apparently, and now she goes down to Arizona and tracks him down because she has to say no. So if that's going to be the case,
that was
the reason she can't say no needed to be stronger, and the reason she can say no needed to be stronger.
Right, that's when it really fell apart because Gil has gone to Arizona. And he's a success there, and then Marge is like, "No, I have to go tell him off," which is a shitty thing for Marge to do.
It was really
she's
mean.
Clearly in the wrong, and I think we're supposed to think she's in the wrong because ultimately they end up buying a house in Scottsdale,
because
Arizona,
they get him fired again.
Gil feel good.
Which I did like the fact that they brought back that he's a realtor, that's how we introduced him, and that it really was the perfect way for Marge telling him no in public could ruin him. So that at least kind of
it makes sense, but why does he have to go to Arizona for that? Like, he could have stayed in Springfield.
I feel like there was...
They just wanted to make jokes about Arizona.
They kept
and none
making
of them were good.
Scottsdale references. I didn't know if it was going over my head.
I have no
don't know
idea.
if what's the real estate thing. I feel like there might be something I'm missing.
I mean,
maybe... I don't know.
What were they gaining by setting it in Scottsdale, Arizona? They had that terrible joke with the dog.
Yeah,
that was just not at all funny.
The fact that the people look old there because it's so
older,
hot.
Yeah, it was like
it felt like they just wanted a new locale to skewer.
It did not work. For me.
I'm sure some of the writers' parents or they vacation there or something. I don't know. It just
yeah.
Just think, Lisa, if I had paid for those skating lessons, that could have been you.
Say, Mel, those figure skaters sure are having a swell time out there.
Indeed. Why don't we join them?
Oh, my back.
Wow, Krusty and Mel sure can skate.
Nothing slows down the baby boomers.
There were a couple other things that I liked in this episode. Do you remember Homer comes in and Marge says, "I'm going to say no to the next thing," and Homer comes in and says, "Marge, do you want $1,000?" And she goes, "No, wait a minute, yes," and he just sets the money on fire.
He burns it's $1,000 bill, I guess.
Yeah,
and he just burns it.
That was really funny, but it went on too long because then they went after that and they were like, Homer was like, "I make 6 of these a year."
Oh, yeah,
and that was
stupid.
just not funny. And I think he may have said, "I make 6 of these a year."
Yeah.
In that terrible whisper.
Damn,
I really hate that aggressive whispers.
I'm trying to think when that started. That's got to be in the good years, right?
Well, I mean,
funny?
the Thompsons scene,
yeah,
like, I
that's
think
right,
he's
he's
talking
talking
to
to
you. You know, I just realized they're just like doing that again.
Yeah.
But it works there because the whole joke is Homer's an idiot.
And it's purposely
an
drawn
idiot
out.
trying not to be, yeah. Anyway.
Anywho.
So I liked at least the $1,000 part. I don't have much else to say. There was one other weird thing I just wanted to bring
there was
up.
one line I liked.
Okay, sure.
If we're talking
about things we like, yeah.
There's a line in the Ice Capades where Krusty and Lenny and Carl are commenting on how the stunt doubles skate so well.
Yeah.
They don't realize it's stunt doubles.
Yeah.
And it's Carl, and it's great because it's Carl's voice and Carl's intonation, and it just makes the line work. But he's just like nothing slows down the baby boomers.
That was a good line.
I like that. Anyway,
that was a good one. Yeah, there was just one other moment I wanted to point out. There was a scene at the school, at the cafeteria. Do you remember this? Lisa and Bart are angry because Gil had stolen their lunch and left them a note, and Bart is like, "Yeah, my lunch is just old nicotine patches," and then Nelson comes and takes his lunch and eats them.
Yeah,
and then passes out.
Yeah, the kids laugh that he's eating them.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. That was
out.
just a very gross joke.
Yeah, it was unnecessary.
I just wanted to point it out because my distaste for it was so much. I was like, we can't end the podcast without talking about the nicotine patch.
It warranted it. You mentioning that line is much more relevant than us talking about TGIF for 15 minutes.
I mean, we could talk more about Jerry Van Dyke.
By the way, Jerry Van Dyke was the assistant coach. He was Coach's old coach on Coach.
Yep.
And he's Dick Van Dyke's older brother, but you'd know him if you see him.
He's not Dauber. He's the other guy.
He's not Dauber, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not Dauber. He's not Craig T. Nelson.
Yep.
And he's not the woman.
Dauber, Bill Fagerbaker's his name. He's the voice of Patrick on SpongeBob.
And he was
Marshall's dad. Well, he was definitely in The Stand.
Yeah, he was
Marshall's dad on How I Met Your Mother, too.
What was the name? Who was he on?
He was Tom something. M-O-O-N.
That spells moon. Yeah.
Let's just talk about The Stand for a little while.
That's our Stand podcast.
They're supposedly remaking it into 3 movies.
It keeps going up and down. It was 2, and now it's 4.
It's never going to happen. It already attained perfection in 1994 with the TV miniseries, which is on Netflix.
It's great. It's one of my
check
favorites.
it out. There's no Jerry Van Dyke. There's very little Simpsons. But if you like Gary Sinise, he's in there.
He's great at that.
It's time to end the show.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's talk about
where this episode ranks. So if you're new to the show, we are ranking every episode that we watch in a master list that's available on our website, worstepisodeeverpodcast.wordpress.com. We're going to get a better website.
We keep saying it.
Yeah, well, one day we actually will. Okay, so our best episode so far.
Our least worst.
Our least worst is Pokemon from season 12. That's the one where Marge takes... It's actually very similar to this episode because Marge takes in...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
A convict played by Michael Keaton. And our worst episode ever is Lisa Goes Gaga, the Lady Gaga episode. Tough one to beat.
Right.
What part of the list do you think we're in for this?
That's a good way to start.
I don't think we're in Gaga territory.
No. This one reminds me the most of the Halloween episode because it's a holiday episode, although the Halloween episode was bland. This wasn't bland. It was up and down.
This episode had some funny moments, but there was a lot of stuff I just didn't like. At least it had a plot that made sense. I'll give it points for that. I
have a spot I think it would go in, but I'd say it's better than the Halloween episode, worse than the 90s show episode. The only reason I'm second guessing it is because I'm always second guessing the list in general. Is this episode really that much worse than Grandpa marries Selma? I'm saying it out loud. I don't even have to finish the thought. Yes, of course, Grandpa marrying Selma
it was much
is
worse.
terrible,
much worse.
Because the episode itself wasn't that bad, but. I'm happy with my choice.
I think you're exactly right. I think it's right under that 90s show. It's close.
Right.
But it's definitely... This was a better episode than Treehouse of Horror 20, which I barely remember at this point. I just know it was not great.
But it wasn't as good as that 90s show, which is funny how that 90s show...
Well, actually, maybe it's better than that 90s show, because that 90s show didn't have a sensical plot. Most of the jokes didn't work.
Why do we keep giving that episode the benefit of the doubt?
Let's stop giving that episode the benefit of the doubt.
It's above that 90s show.
Yeah,
although this episode sucked too, so I don't know.
No, this episode wasn't
good. This has Grumple the Goo.
Grumble the Goo. No, well, okay, so that 90s show had some good moments. I think this episode had more good moments.
I mean, that whole Krusty opening was really decent.
And Bart Mangled Banner, which would be the episode we're going to put right in front of it.
Yeah.
That was like half of a good episode.
Yeah.
So I think that's the right spot to put it in. So we'll slot it in there.
Let's get 90s show.
That's pretty close to the top of the list.
Down there. Let's knock it off a level. That was easy, quick and easy.
That was quick and easy. So I think we have some time, since it's Christmas and all.
Yeah, I see you have a package for me.
I have a package right here.
Do you have a Christmas present for me?
I do.
I feel bad. I didn't get you anything.
This doesn't sound right. Where is this episode going, Jack?
If you could see that his pants are on, it wouldn't seem so.
No, if you've been listening to the show for a little while, in one of our earlier episodes, I read a story that I wrote, probably in 96 or 1997. I read a Simpsons website, and there was a section on it called Simpsons vs. the World, where people would suggest like fan fiction stories.
Did people actually suggest?
People did actually suggest things. It was actually fairly popular. I don't know why, because it's terrible, as you'll find out in a moment. So I have a list of all the stories in front of me here, and there's one that mentions Christmas, so we figure that's a good one to read on the podcast.
We should point out that the last time you read this was our Thanksgiving episode, or around our Thanksgiving.
You're right.
And
it was the Steve Carell one.
And you went home for Thanksgiving, and your family just all ganged up on you, your wife and your
my brother played that part of the podcast at the dinner table,
and everybody just hated it.
Yeah, but we're doing it again because at least one person liked it. One person tweeted at us that they liked it, so this is for you. Okay, so here we go. This is a really short one, though, and I'll read it exactly as written. This was Nelson Muntz, versus Kenny from South Park.
Ooh.
A lot of these are South Park related because originally it was Simpsons versus South Park. But,
fair enough.
Yeah, so this is Nelson versus Kenny
I hope
from
Kenny
South Park.
dies at the end. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. Okay, so here we go. Nelson studied his opponent beforehand. Nelson loves studying. He knew Kenny has died almost every day, except for Christmas.
He knew this.
Nelson would just put the kid out of his misery. He snuck up on Kenny when Kenny turned around and unloaded an AK-47 on Nelson and anyone else. As he ripped off his hood and stood on Nelson's carcass, he screamed, "I am Kenny, who's gonna die now?" Just then, Cartman snuck up and said, "God damn it, shut up, Kenny," and stabbed him 17 times in the back.
I feel like if anybody had read this, like you would have been kicked out of school.
Yeah. There's one more sentence. The rats ate both Kenny and Nelson.
The rats.
So there you go. There's a Christmas treat for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was dark. I was a troubled young man.
That's hysterical. And I like that. How could Nelson put him out of his misery if he dies every day? He's just like
really. He's just gonna keep coming back. I don't know.
We should add. I'm going to do a podcast about those episodes. And I'm just going to take them apart and
worst Simpsons vs. World stories ever.
I actually got you something too.
Oh, okay.
It's the DVD set of Teen Angel and You Wish.
I love it. The famous Jerry Van Dyke series.
Yeah, and I know this is radio and you can't see it, but that's actually the truth. That here they are handing them to you now.
Oh my goodness!
Why did we actually?
They didn't need to know that. They don't. All right, that is definitely it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. If you have a terrible Simpsons episode you want to suggest to us, or if you just want to talk about old TGIF shows,
we're definitely down.
We are game for that. Email us. We're worstepisodepod@gmail.com. We're on Twitter @worstepisodepod. And we're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/WEE podcast. Maybe all of those things should have been the same to make it easy, but whatever. Check out our website. I mentioned it before. It's worstepisodeeverpodcast.wordpress.com. You can read the show notes, download our old episodes, let us know what you think of the show. If you rate us on iTunes, it really helps us out a lot. Tell your friends, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. It's Christmas. Throw us a bone. We appreciate it.
Dan's reading these stories for you.
Yeah, this is my blood, sweat, and tears. My shame of Nelson and Kenny.
Yeah, the blood, sweat, and tears of other cartoon characters.
Yeah.
God, that's dark.
It was pretty dark. Maybe I shouldn't have even read that one. If you're in the Brooklyn area, you can come to Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia. That is the first Thursday of every month at Berry Park in Williamsburg. Except in January, it's going to actually be January 8th. It's not on New Year's Day. You can also check out, there's locations in Toronto and Chicago and other North American cities. Just Google Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia. You'll find it. And have a Merry Christmas, everybody, or Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate.
Winter solstice.
Antichrist Day, I don't know,
Kwanzaa,
is that a thing?
Just happy holidays in general, and we're going to have a pretty cool New Year's episode.
Yeah, we're going to do it, we'll see if we even release it. I don't know if it's cool. We're doing something a little different for our New Year's episode. The episode we're going to watch, it's called How I Wet Your Mother, from season 23.
I don't think I can watch that sober.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to watch it, and we're going to be drunk. So we're doing the podcast drunk. If it's really unlistenable, maybe we won't even release it.
Yeah, we have no idea how this is going to go.
Yeah, but that's the plan right now. It should be interesting. It's How I Wet Your Mother again. Yeah. All we know about this episode is that it's about Homer wetting the bed, and there's some sort of Inception thing going on.
All right, and maybe since we haven't seen the episode, it's kind of hard to say. Maybe we'll come up with some kind of game and we'll do shots.
Yeah, maybe.
Do it while we watch it. And
I don't know. It'll be interesting. Maybe it's a terrible idea. Maybe the whole podcast is a terrible idea. It doesn't matter anymore.
No, talking about the two obscure TGIF magic shows.
Both of them lasted one season.
Yeah. No, I'm sure.
I'm sure everyone remembers them from 17 years ago.
Completely broad and universal.
You know what? I bet I wrote that story while I was watching an episode of You Wish on TGIF. This has been Worst Episode Ever. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll be back on New Year's Eve. Check out the episode on SimpsonsWorld.com before we do, and we will see you then.
All right, happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays.
May the calendar keep ringing. Happy holidays to you.
Grumpily Grumpily Gru, we're here to share Christmas with you.
Aww.